Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Welcome to Finding Certainty. It's our favorite day of the week, Hump Day. You know, we used to do our show on Friday mornings, but we decided to switch it to Wednesdays because we felt like everyone, as they're working through their work week, working through the challenges of life, that might be nice to have a little shot in the arm, if you will, a little reminder about the certainty that we can have in our lives, and do that on Wednesdays. You know, we kind of gotten our week started. Hopefully we're getting into the momentum of it all before the weekend. We thought it might be a good idea to do Finding Certainty here on Wednesdays instead of Friday. It's actually one of the most popular streaming days, and I think it's for those exact reasons. People are looking for a shot in the arm. We're halfway through. Let's get through to the weekend. We're on kind of the downhill slope, if you will. So this is my fourth episode here on Bold Brave TV since switching over from our previous network on Voice America. And I'll tell you what, I'm so impressed with the Bold Brave TV team, the engineers, the managing partners, just everything. I've been referring other hosts to them, like my friend Randy Schroeder today, who is going to be doing his own show here on Bold Brave TV coming up. Very excited to, one, have you meet him today, and two, have you hear a lot more from him, because he's one of the most insightful and most experienced thought leaders and business leaders that I know. And so our guest today, Mr. Randy Schroeder with Talk Fusion. Randy, thanks for being here on Finding Certainty today. Really looking forward to spending the next hour with you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. It's my pleasure being here, and I'm very intrigued with our coming conversation.
Well, you know, we go way back. We've known each other for many years. In fact, we were first introduced when you were with a company named Rexall Showcase years and years ago. I was living in Anchorage, Alaska at the time. I think you were their top seller, their top leader in the company. And that's kind of par for the course. I mean, I think you're always the top guy in every company you go to, in my experience. But yeah, that was amazing.
Back in that experience, Patrick, I mean, you talk about the name of your show is Finding Certainty. And one thing that I've discovered over the course of my career, one thing that is certain, is that if I try to move people to take an action that I want them to take, they're highly unlikely to take it. If, on the other hand, I find an action that people want to take and I help them take it more effectively at some personal or financial gain, then great things happen. So you talked about that fantastic experience that I had and that we had together. That was actually between 1991 and 2001. What caused that to happen? Why did it happen? It happened because the leading edge of the baby boom was turning 50 at the rate of 10,000 people per day. They were becoming aware of their mortality, and they became aware that elevated cholesterol might be a precursor to heart disease. And there I was with a product that could effectively address that. The name of your show is Finding Certainty. I'll tell you one thing that is certain. If we're trying to convince people to do what we want them to do, it'll be a hard, steep hill, and we won't accomplish much. If, on the other hand, we're able to identify what a lot of people want to do, and it's an important thing they want to do, then if we can help them do what they want to do at some economic advantage, our results will be profound, they'll be automatic, and it'll never feel like work.
I couldn't agree more, Randy. And really, that's been at the heart of all of your successes over the last several decades, is you find a need and fill it, right? You find that niche, that solution that people are looking for, and you have continued to deliver that solution, and you've done it multiple times, right? I mean, I've seen it. I've been an observer, kind of a fly on the wall, watching the Randy Schroeder experience and learning from you. I do consider you one of my mentors, and it's been fun. It's been fun watching it, you know. I always start out the show with sharing a couple of reasons why I've invited this guest on. And the first is exactly what we're talking about, right? You have led multiple projects, multiple companies, and you've helped bring lots of people with you, right? You've been in the direct sales industry. You've you've been a leader, you've been a top executive, but you're one of those guys who leads by doing, right? You don't just tell people what to do, you show them how to do it, and you're in the trenches with them, and I love that about you. The second reason I've invited Mr. Randy Schroeder here to be with us on Finding Certainty is that there are many, many businesses out there looking for a more certain way to connect with their customers and to build those relationships, right? To create connections and longevity, and effectively to create certainty in those relationships. And Randy's project, his company that he works with now, Talk Fusion, is doing exactly that. So excited to kind of break down a little bit of your story and get into what Talk Fusion is doing and how it's helping. It's an extraordinary project. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, Randy, but I'm very excited about what it has to offer, and we're implementing it with our company. And the list goes on. So sure. Let's start out. We always start out with a little bit of a stroll down memory lane, if you will. Okay. Tell us briefly about your background, your upbringing. I know it was not an easy upbringing, and it led to where you are today. And along the way, you've learned some lessons that have really impacted yourself and others. So do you mind just giving us a quick glimpse of who is Randy Schroeder?
No, of course. I was raised in a little town in Idaho, and I was raised in a home without enough money. That's the truth. I thought I was raised in poverty. But then I worked in Indonesia, and I worked in the Philippines, and I worked in India, and I've observed what real poverty is. And certainly I was not raised in poverty. I was raised in the lower rungs of the middle class in America in a household with an alcoholic father who never got sober. And that resulted in a very, very inefficient allocation of resources. And it resulted in the difficulty creating a proper self-esteem for all people who are raised in that environment. It's very, very tough. And so, Patrick,
Right.
the exact truth is that I went to school in third grade, and I saw the kids that I thought were cool wearing Converse brand sneakers. And I came home and I said to my mom, "Mom, I want Converse." And she said, "Randy, we can't afford those." And a few days later, I came home from school and I said, "Mom, I want Levi's jeans because that's what the cool kids wear." And sadly enough, my alcoholic father was within earshot, and he yelled at me in the room. He said, "Well, Randy, that's not going to be a problem for you because you're not one of the cool kids." So that's kind of where it all started for me. And the truth is,
Mm.
Patrick, I made a decision when I was 9 years old that I would not live a life that was ruled by the question of how much does it cost, and the answer must never be that's too much. I made a decision a long time ago, and so over the course of all of the years since then, what I've done is try to identify. And by the way, for the participant in this show, for the one who views it live or views it later, I always hope that whenever I'm asked to talk for a couple of moments, that I say at least one thing that matters. Let me now say one thing that will matter to 100% of people who review this material. If you are a struggler, and Patrick, I started out my life being a struggler. I've been described as the one who will keep digging until he finds oil. That does not produce the outcome that I want. It does not. In fact, if I'm digging and digging and digging and no oil is apparent, I should walk away. It's probably a dry hole. What I need to do is not struggle to try to make something happen. I need instead to have my antenna up. I need to be in tune. I need to be alert to what's going on in the world around me. I need to identify projects for which the time is right. I need to not struggle to try to make something happen. I need to find those things which are destined to occur and then become a catalyst in causing that which was destined to occur just a little more quickly. What I just said, Patrick, don't struggle to make things happen. Identify that which is destined to occur, then become a catalyst that causes that which was destined to occur more quickly.
I
That
love that.
simple statement, that has been worth $5 billion in sales in my organizations. People in my groups have been paid $2.7 billion in commissions because of that simple thought, logic, and strategy.
Well, it's really interesting because I just recently watched a video. It's on YouTube. You can find it. It talks about the backwards law, and his whole premise is he said when you pursue something, you chase it and you're desperate for it, right? The struggle, as you refer to it, oftentimes it eludes you. It runs away from you. And he says, I'm not saying you don't work hard. I'm not saying you don't put yourself in those right place, right time situations. He says, but at the same time, he says we have to, at times, let go and let it happen. If we are,
I'll give you just a. Oh, sorry.
it's kind of like let me just finish the thought. It's kind of like an abundance versus a scarcity mindset, right? We think there's not enough around. I got to find some are for
Right.
me. But when you think there is abundance, I'm going to put myself out there, keep my radar up. I always tell my guys, open their eyes, take off their blinders. Remember, you have two ears and one mouth, and you
Right.
will be amazed at the opportunities that come into your life. Right? But you got to have your blinders off. You got to have your eyes open.
Yeah.
So, to your point, right?
I agree with that, and I have another thought. And for anyone who reviews this message who is trying to build a business of almost any kind, if I'm opening a new dental practice, I have to recognize that somebody else is already filling and drilling the teeth that I would like to fill and drill. And so I have to somehow separate myself. If I'm opening a new child daycare center, someone else is already caring for the children that I would like to care for. I have to somehow separate myself. Here then is the challenge. If you are my candidate, my prospect. By the way, I hate the word prospect. I don't like the word hate, but I hate the word prospect. Why? Do you want to be my prospect? If you're my prospect, that means I'm trying to convince you to do what I want you to do when I want you to do it and spend the amount of money I want you to spend. I don't think
Right.
anyone would enjoy being my prospect, and I don't want to be anyone else's prospect. But you know what I wouldn't mind being is someone's candidate. That feels different, doesn't it? See, words have power. I wouldn't mind being someone's candidate. I sure don't want to be somebody's prospect. But you
That's
know what?
really
If I'm
great. I
words
like
have
that. I
power,
like that,
Patrick.
Randy.
And I
I,
promise you
I, I
little
agree
teeny
with you.
things.
Words have power, and you are the master.
No,
You are
words have
you are the
power.
words. Yeah,
And now imagine this for a moment. Imagine that you are my prospect as opposed to my candidate. If you are my prospect, I am coming towards you with my initiative. What would I like you to do for my gain? That's what it means if you're my prospect. What would I like you to do for my gain? And if I'm coming towards you as my prospect, I should naturally assume that you're going to be back on your heels and backing away from me. If, on the other hand, I can somehow cause you to come towards me, because instead of being my prospect, you're my candidate, and I'm helping you do what you want to do instead of trying to convince you to do something I want to do. Now you see, you make the first step towards me, and now I can meet you in the middle. Totally different outcome. And it all started with a changed word, and that changed word changes behaviors.
that's really interesting. One of the things that's always stood out to me in our relationship, and just as I said, observing you, usually up on stage, speaking to the
Mhm,
stadium worth of full of people or something like that. You are a wordsmith, right? You're very
mhm,
precise about your word. You talk fast, you say a lot, but there's never a wasted word or a wasted effort. Now you work harder than most people I've ever met, right? You
mhm.
put in the time, and that's part of the secret to your success, I believe. But to your point, you're not chasing people. People are
No,
coming to
and
you because they see. I mean, I was just in your house right about a month ago out there in Utah. It's this gorgeous home with a view of Heber Valley, not far from Park City, Utah. You see the Mount Timpanogos and the mountain range in the distance.
mm,
And the whole time I was thinking, Randy works harder than most people I know, but most people are coming to him. They're reaching out to him. They're being drawn to you. Call it the law of attraction or whatever
mm,
the case might be. But and that's interesting that it's led you that style and that superpower has led you to what you're now doing with Talk Fusion. I don't want to go there yet because I want to talk a little bit about your past, but because it's the perfect fit. I mean, talk about a perfect storm, right? For your
mm.
personality and your style, your superpower, as they say. You'll see what we're talking about, listener, if you're following along here. But you talk about
So,
growing up
Pat,
in an alcoholic
can,
home,
can,
though, Randy.
can I make one quick comment right here that's
Yeah,
important? As
yeah,
a
yeah.
thought we
Go
covered
ahead.
a second ago.
No problem.
So a moment ago, you were very kind and you said that I have, don't know the words you use, but I have a powerful um, ability to express myself. I'm
Hmm.
articulate. I communicate effectively and efficiently, right? How did that happen? That's an outcome. You see, all of our outcomes are determined by our inputs. That didn't happen by accident. I referenced that
Right.
I was raised in a family with an alcoholic father. I don't have a formal education. I'm a proud graduate of Madison High School. That's the sum total of it. And I remember the very first time that I was ever invited to comment for a few minutes on the stage, and that was captured on audio. And when I listened to it, I was mortified because I heard that I didn't speak like other people. I said things like ain't got none. I totally butchered the English language. I'm serious. and I used profanity and completely inappropriate. In fact, I think all uses of profanity are probably inappropriate in public commentary. And I mean, there was nothing about it that made me feel good. Literally nothing. When I heard the way that I sounded, I thought to myself, I would not choose to get in business with that guy. And so then I made a decision to change that. So this will belie my age, but I don't hide it. I'm an old guy. But way back in those ancient days, I got a subscription to a magazine called Reader's Digest, and there was an article there every month that was called "It Pays to Enrich Your Word Power." My vocabulary, my ability to express myself, is because I made a decision to develop a vocabulary and learn to express myself. You'll also note, I hope, that when I talk, you don't hear a lot of and, but, like. Any repeated word pattern gets in the way of the message. And in a matter of minutes, I promise you, our audience, and, like. Guys, pretty soon our audience is counting the number of times that we're repeating that word or phrase, and we've completely lost the message. That took years. That took years for me to listen to myself, count the number of times I said and, the number of times I said but, the number of times I said like, and then practice and practice and practice. And a month later, do it again and count the number of times I said but, and, like. If you want to be an extraordinary communicator, make a decision today to be an extraordinary communicator, then make the required sacrifice and engage in the pattern of activities that cause that to be the logical outcome. So I'm sorry about that, but I didn't want to let that
100%.
thought go away because that is a result. That's not by accident. That's a result.
Well, and it's a really important result. It's really important insight, Randy. I appreciate you bringing it up, because as I bring guests on Finding Certainty, and I've had some extraordinary top business owners, billionaires, et cetera, and you see that pattern through their success stories, right? That they went after it. They didn't just wait for things to happen. They made them happen. They went to Toastmasters. They joined courses, things like Vistage and Vistage Worldwide. They became students of their craft. And it's one of the amazing things is it doesn't matter where you are. I don't care who you are, who's listening. You might have a successful business. You might just have an idea for a business. Maybe you're stuck in a dead-end job thinking about starting something. You got to remember two things. One, you can do it. It is possible. Everybody felt the same way starting out. And two, you can get better at it every single day. But it's in direct proportion to how much effort you put into it, right? Reading those Reader's Digest magazines. I went to Toastmasters for years to learn how to speak.
Right.
There's something about it, effort and performance output, right? And so, anyway, so I know you grew up with an alcoholic father. You went through some of the same challenges with drugs and alcohol and so forth yourself for a long time. And how long have you been sober? I know it's been several years now.
It's been a long time, but let me first address that. Um, when a person identifies a challenge, I promise you that there is good that comes from that challenge. It is the absolute truth. But yes, I struggled with drugs and alcohol for a lot of years, and I lost that struggle. Ultimately, I was arrested 3 times for cocaine possession. I was convicted of felonies, and my life was tipped completely upside down. I was in 7 rehabs, 2 jails, and a prison before finally someday getting and staying sober meant more to me than anything else. Now, the thing that I want to say about that, however, is that I've met so many people who along the way in their lives have some occurrence. And now they say, well, that's that. Because of that, I can no longer succeed. Folks, I have to tell you that when I walked in the doors of the Orleans Parish Prison and those doors closed behind me, I did not think at that moment, wow, I'll bet my greatest success is in the future. That's not what I thought. I fell into the immediate trap that almost everyone else falls into, that having a limiting belief. Oh my gosh, now I've got this. Now I have a felony conviction. Now I have, oh, no one will ever trust me and respect me again. The best is behind me. Absolutely not true. The greatest successes in my life have come since that time. And today I can look back at that experience and I can say, look how many good things came as a result of that. Today I can have compassion for people who have similar experiences. And had I not lived through it myself, I could not. Today I can offer hope for people who might otherwise be hopeless. One of the things that gives me great joy, and I don't happen to have a family that I'm working with right now, but through most of my recovery, I've always had children that I take to visit their father in prison because no one brought my children to visit me in prison. And that gives me an opportunity to listen to them and hear why it's taken so many years for my relationships to get healed with my own kids. I get to hear in the back seat what it was like growing up with me as their dad. All of that is fantastic. I can today look back at that and I can tell you that without question, that was one of the best things that could possibly have happened to me. It was also one of the things that had to happen in order for me to get and stay sober. And so now, in response to your question, by the way, an interesting question, because now I'm going to say the date of my sobriety, and there'll be some people who say, well, that's not long enough, and some who say, it doesn't matter, I'm sober today. But here's the truth. My sobriety date is August 25th of 2011. That's the last time that I had a drink or a drug.
August what? August
August
11th?
25th of August
25th.
25th of 2011.
It's almost my wife's birthday.
Yeah.
It's a good month. So I mean, you're coming up on 15 years, my friend. 14 this year,
I
right?
know. I know. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, Patrick's married to a 14-year-old. No, I'm guessing it's not the same birthday as the year. Yes,
No,
I have been. And by the way, folks, let me, and I joke when I say that. The thing that I want all people to wrap their arms around. And you asked me about recovery. And so I'm just going to cite just a little bit of recovery here.
of your advice for one out there
Oh,
who's struggling.
hold on a second here. First, in the Gospel of Matthew, it says, among other things, it says that where your treasure is, there your heart shall be also. And so, folks, I want you all to know, here's my treasure. I just walked over to my trophy case, and in the year 1939, the first book, Alcoholics Anonymous, was printed, and there were 5,000 copies printed. Today, there are over 30 million in circulation. This is called the first edition, first printing. Why? Because inside these pages is a proved and predictable pattern of activities which helped a person like me, who was a hopeless alcoholic and drug addict, get and stay sober. Okay, now a moment ago, we talked about at the very beginning of this show, feeling certainty. When getting and staying sober mattered more to me than anything else, I had to find a roadmap. I had to find a path. I had to find something that was an absolute certainty. If I do A, I will get B, and if I do, I will get B, C, and if I do C, I will get D, and if I don't, I won't. It was in that process that I learned to create in all of my business mechanisms a similar, proved, and predictable pattern of activities. What we want is to allow a person's personality to spark the recipe, but not to be the recipe, because the personality cannot repeat. And so, what I learned in the program of recovery, when I walked into the Orleans Parish Prison, thinking it was the worst thing that happened to me, I learned things there that dramatically influenced the way I do business today that have nothing to do with recovery. My point of all that is this. If you were to go to page 417 of the new edition of AA, you would find there it's frequently referred to as the acceptance prayer. It is not a prayer, it's a statement, but it goes like this. I'll paraphrase it only a little bit at the end. It says, acceptance is the answer to all of my problems today. Whenever I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact in my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it's supposed to be at this moment, because nothing, absolutely nothing, happens in God's world by mistake. And so, with that idea, if
Powerful.
nothing happens in God's world by mistake, then I get the opportunity to determine what was the advantage. This was not a punishment. I'm having an experience now that can give me advantage. What is the advantage and what can I learn from it? And so, whomever you are that's reviewing this information right now, if there's something that you find unacceptable, well, realize that that only leads to unhappiness. We must accept our circumstance today, whatever it is. But then the good news is this: we don't have to accept that it will stay that way tomorrow. Because why, Patrick? Because we can get up and work and work and work and work to refine our natural talents into skills that become beneficial to others. Because we want to be happy today, we need to accept the way it is today. But we don't need to accept that it'll stay that way tomorrow, because we can work.
I couldn't agree more. You know, I'm a big believer that one of the secrets to accomplishing all of this is not waiting until someday we look back with 2020 hindsight and think, coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? I always say there's these three kinds of sight. You've got foresight,
Oops.
midsight, and hindsight. And I believe the most important one is midsight. While you're going through it, while you're dealing with that thing that's unacceptable, that habit, that addiction, that challenge, it might be a loss, right? A trauma.
Mhm. Right.
While we're going through it, we step back and say, how can I do this? Who could I turn to for help? What am I supposed to learn from this?
Right.
it's great to look ahead and prepare and plan, and it's an important part of it. And it's important to look back and have that 2020 hindsight and gain from it what we can. But I believe the most important is while we're going through it. Sometimes we're too close to it, right? We have to step a little bit back, ask for help. One of the most important things we can do is take ownership. To your point, accept it, and then say, "What else can I do?" And not let ourselves fall prey to these victim patterns. This victim, it's not my job, pointing fingers, passing the buck. We will never get there if we allow ourselves to be victims in the process, even when bad things happen to us. Right? You grew up with a father who probably could have done some things a lot better. We all have our challenges, but you didn't let yourself be a victim to it. At least you got to a point eventually where you said enough is enough, right? So, anyway,
and you know what, Patrick, I have to comment on that just a tiny bit. I got to comment on that because this is an important
go
thought.
ahead. We got about another minute, Randy. We got about another minute, then we're going to go to our break. But go ahead, and then we'll.
I can do this. I can do this in 1 minute.
Yeah.
So today I am profoundly grateful that the man who was my father, though I didn't enjoy a lot of the experiences that I had as a child. But my point of greatest gratitude is this: abused children grow up and abuse children. I was an abused child, but I didn't grow up and abuse my children. That is the single kindest thing God did to me. And that was through no act of heroism on my part. It was because I didn't get the pull. Whatever the pull is that caused that, I didn't get that pull. But today I look at my father and I don't look at him with disgust or anger. I look at him with complete compassion because he didn't want to treat me that way. I know he did not. I can see with clarity he was abused horribly when he was a child. You see, my ability to look at it not from the perspective of, you said, of me being a victim. No, I'm not. I'm the most gifted person there is. I did not get that horrible trait that would have caused me to do that to my children. Who could be more blessed than I? And so you see, the same circumstance viewed from a different perspective changes a lot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think to break that chain is difficult. The fact that you were able to is admirable. A lot of people out there who want to. They would love to be able to. I think examples like yours can help inspire them. I think programs like Alcoholics Anonymous are key. You can't do it alone. You need support, right? You need a system. And we could go on and on about that. But we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back here in just a minute, and we're going to continue with Randy Schroeder here. We're going to talk a little bit about his business, Talk Fusion, because it is doing what we're talking about. It's doing exactly that, creating more certainty for companies. And you'll understand why as soon as we get back. Don't go away.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining?
Welcome back to Finding Certainty. We're visiting with Randy Schroeder. He's a longtime friend and mentor, and we're going to be talking about his business, which is it's called Talk Fusion. Now, that name in and of itself is intriguing, Randy, because what is fusion, right? You're combining these elements into this perfect storm. I think when I hear fusion, that's what I think of. Maybe you can just give a little bit of background about how this came about. I know it's launching in a couple of weeks, right? Right around May 1st. So you're in pre-launch. Your official launch is coming up quickly. But tell us what it is and why you're so excited about it and why it's turning so many heads already.
Okay. So Talk Fusion is all about personal branding. And I just make a couple of quick illustrations here. So Patrick, do you know what this is?
Oh, it's my favorite. Nilla
Yeah,
wafers,
and
right?
Nilla wafers, that's right. And who makes Nilla wafers? Do you happen to know?
I think it's Keebler maybe, or
Oh, no,
I'm
that was a guess. Not about. No, it's Nabisco. It's
Nabisco.
Nabisco.
There you go.
So folks, the reason that I put this up here is because I would ask anyone who reviews this, if you live in the United States of America, when you think of a vanilla wafer, do you or do you not think of vanilla wafers? You do, don't you? I mean, in fact, I would be
Sure,
surprised if you
sure.
could think of another brand. Here we see Nilla Vanilla Wafer. It has been more than 50 years since they've run an ad, more than 50 years. But it's a brand, and it's a brand that creates pricing power. My question to each person who reviews this is, are you a brand, and do you create pricing power? This particular box of cookies, it's 11 ounces, it's 311 grams. This is Kroger. You might think of this as generic. You know what? This is a vanilla wafer too. It also is 11 ounces. It also is 311 grams. The ingredient list on the two boxes is not approximately the same. It is exactly the same. I emptied the two boxes out. They have the same number of cookies in them. This one, this one costs $3.39. This one costs $6.79. One is a brand and one is not. And my simple question to you is, whomever you are you being paid as a premium brand? Are you earning as a premium brand, or are you earning as a generic? And because up until this moment, you'd never even thought of it, I can tell you right now, you are earning as a generic. That's the simple truth. Now, I can show you two couple of ways. It's not just about a cookie. If I were to show you this bag, I have no idea, Patrick, if you would know what this brand is. I guarantee you your wife would. Do you know what this brand is when you look at this turquoise bag? What is
Looks a
it?
little like Tiffany to me.
It looks a lot like Tiffany, doesn't it? You see,
Yeah.
it didn't even have to say Tiffany on it, just the color. That's the power of a brand. And the fact is, this is a bit of truth. A number of years ago, I actually had an investment grade diamond imported to me from Israel. It came from, or excuse me, from Antwerp, from Belgium. And it was an internally flawless and externally flawless 4.25 quarter stone with a perfect color, considered a perfect color in H. And that stone had a certain value. Just for sport, I went with that stone to Tiffany in New York, and I said, and I had my appraisal, here's the value of this stone. What would this stone be worth if it was a Tiffany stone? 8 times more. 8 times more. Even though these were two identical gems, the fact that it had Tiffany's name on it would give it an 8x. That's the power of a brand. And it goes on and on. This is a handbag. Samantha doesn't buy herself expensive things that I do. And once again, Patrick, you may not recognize this brand, but I guarantee your wife would. That brand is Versace. And you know what? There's one reason and one reason only that this bag is worth $5,000, and it's because it says Prada on it. And so what is our company? What is Talk Fusion? Talk Fusion is a personal branding device that completely captures the current nature of the business environment. And Patrick, I can talk on and on and on, but with that little bit of a background, I should stop and let you lead the conversation where you'd like it to go from here.
Well, let me comment from a business owner's standpoint. You know that we have our consulting firm, Certainty Management. We have associates across the country. In one of our divisions, we have clients in all 50 states, right? We own a technology company, Certainty Global. We've got Certainty Holdings. We have our show. We're doing a lot of content creation and a lot of promotion and a lot of selling on a daily basis. And yet, even with being in business for years, even with having associates coast to coast and the presence that we do, we struggle in this area. We struggle in our branding, in having a
Right.
clear and concise message that is repeated and is replayed and is driven home not only consistently but easily. Right? That's what caught my eye when I first saw Talk Fusion, Randy, is that you're taking these needs that businesses have not just businesses either, also individuals. I mean, you want to build a relationship with your family or your friends or whatever, but these really inherent needs that we have, and you've created a way to do it that is, I think, not just effective, but it is very easy to do. And those are two of my favorite things: efficient and easy. Right?
Me too. So a couple of other thoughts. I reflect back to an earlier time in my career. I was hired by a firm called Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch is branded. In fact, Merrill
Sure.
Lynch was once the most powerful brand in the financial services world. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner and Smith, we are bullish on America. And then one day that all went away. Merrill Lynch failed and it was bought out by Bank of America. But at the time that I was employed by Merrill, it was the most powerful brand. But I misunderstood. When I came home from the training program in New York, on the flight back home, I had this wake up call. Wait, every single portfolio that I want to manage is now being managed by somebody else. Everybody that has any money already has a broker. And so I've got to find a way to take a client away from someone else. And yet, what was I taught by Merrill Lynch to do? I was taught by Merrill Lynch to cold call. Hi, Mr. Lang. It's Randy Schroeder. I'm calling from Merrill Lynch. Would you like to use our financial services? Nope. Click. Hi, Mr. Lang. It's Randy Schroeder calling from Merrill Lynch. Would you like? That's what I was taught to do. And I
Right.
was taught make 100 calls in a row, and you might find three people who want to listen to you. Now imagine instead of that, because that was my solicitation. That's what I was taught to do. That's still what people are being taught to do today. Now imagine instead that the solicitation comes in form of an email, and it's a beautifully branded email in a custom template. It says on the stream, Randy Schrader, Merrill Lynch, important video message. The likelihood of a video being opened goes up 12 times when you simply say video in the subject line. It's quite remarkable. We can show how to make it open. Now, when you open it up, there you see a branded template, and it says Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith, we are bullish on America. Then you click on it, and there's my face. You see, each person needs to understand when you click play, there's my face. Each person needs to understand that you, Patrick, in your world, you are the catalyst ingredient. In my world, I am the catalyst ingredient. If we have all of the ingredients for a loaf of bread, but we lack the catalyst, yeast, the loaf does not rise. Well, what is missing in what I was taught at Merrill Lynch's training program? I'm the catalyst ingredient, and yet I'm invisible. I'm invisible behind a black and white text or a black and white email or a telephone call. I'm invisible. Well, gosh, we all know that the least effective part of communication is the words. What are the more effective parts? The smile, the posture, the demeanor, the attitude, the energy, all of that. It gives the words either power or causes them to lack power. And none of that is there in all the ways that we communicate. So now instead, you see a beautiful branded template, Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, Smith. You click and there's me. And I say, Mr. Lang, I am well aware that you have a primary broker and you probably have a secondary broker as well. I'd like to compete and try to earn a little piece of your business. I want you to know, Mr. Lang, I've just returned from Merrill Lynch's training program, and I think that I have new insight as to how we might most effectively hedge your portfolio. Would you be willing to meet me for a cup of coffee? I think that's an incredibly more powerful message than what I was taught to do. But you see, that would cause me to rely upon the brand of my firm, but now I'm also branding myself in a custom video template that lets me be the catalyst ingredient, which I must be if I want to break through.
Well, to your point, it's not only more effective, it's more memorable. It's something
Of
that
course.
sticks with them. I mean, they say a picture's worth a thousand words, right? Video these days, the open rate on video, and I'm sure you know the statistic, but it's how much greater than just a printed email.
8 times. Eight
Eight
times.
times.
Yeah, that's a
Wow,
lot. That's a big deal. And think,
that's
Patrick,
incredible.
for
Yeah.
anybody, I talked about my experience as a stockbroker trying to earn client portfolios. But wouldn't that same thing be true if you're trying to earn a new client in any forward facing business? If you want to grow a real estate business, if you want to grow a mortgage business, if you want to grow any kind of business. And so this technology would be beneficial for them. But then also, Patrick, spin the clock down the road 3, 4 years. I did make it. I was among that 10, 12, 13% of people who did make it. And now suddenly I'm a senior vice president. I've got thousands of accounts and I'm managing tens of millions of dollars in assets. Suddenly the market has a 2,000 point down day. You want to talk to your broker. But if you're a $500,000 account, that would have meant everything to me in year one. In year five, I only had time to have personal conversations with 2 and 3 and $5 million accounts. And so now my $500,000 accounts, they would call, can I talk to Mr. Schrader? I'm sorry, he'll have to talk to you after the market closes. He's tied up right now. You just went and found another broker. You see, I could also have used this tool not to simply attract the new client, but to retain it. Now you receive a message from me on the day of a 100-point down day, a 1,000-point down day, a 2,000-point down day. And it says, what again? Video email from Merrill Lynch, Randy Schroeder. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith. We're bullish on America. Randy Schroeder, Senior Vice President. You click play, and there I am. Mr. Laing, thank you so much for your continued patronage, for your trust in me and in Merrill Lynch. I want you to know that the hedges we've put in place, as we've talked about in the last 6 months, have worked. Your portfolio values are actually going up in this time of extreme volatility. Please know I've got my finger on the pulse. And if you need to know anything, you will hear from me. Now, you see, in so doing, what did we just do? It took me 30 seconds to do that. There is no such thing as a 30-second phone call. All phone calls are 35 minutes. That's why I could only talk to the top handful. But I could have, as Warren Buffett said, put a moat around my castle and preserved my client base from being picked off by that newcomer coming home from their training program by utilizing this technology simply to allow me to be more efficient. And so, Patrick, you said at the outset, what is Talk Fusion? It is a way to personally brand anyone such that they have a better opportunity to gain a new client, to retain that client relationship, to expand the number of transactions with that client in a year, to raise the average value of every transaction, the profitability of every transaction. That's what we do. And there is also, for those who don't have a dream and a vision, there is an affiliate program. So one can use our technology to grow a business of your choice. Or if you don't have a project that you're in love with, we have a standalone income opportunity by providing a gateway to the use of that technology to other people.
Well, and back to my point about easy and efficient. Just to be clear, if you're listening and you're saying, this sounds interesting, how does it work? You have access to a suite of templates. Easily input your own personal message, brand it to your company. Could be for the season. Maybe you want to send out an Easter message to your customers. There are hundreds and hundreds of templates that make it not only easy, but it looks professional, right? It looks like you spent $1 million on this program. You didn't just click a template, add in some information, and hit send. And so they're really combining a combination of AI and technology, some tried and true sales and marketing principles. I know with 2 weeks to come, and Randy, you're bringing on a lot of customers who are just chomping at the bit to get started with this, right? I know you have some big goals that you're curious how you're doing. Are you pacing to hit your goal?
Oh, yeah, I will hit the goal, and I'll describe that in a second. But let's think for a moment here about this idea we talked about of having a potential candidate moving towards us. Okay. And so now think of a person who has a project that they absolutely love, but isn't it true? Let's say that I'm a brand new real estate agent. As I described when I was a broker, every account that I managed that I wanted was being managed by somebody else. A brand new real estate agent, the person that they would like to get their listing, has already got an agent. That's the way it is. So I need to find a way to break through. And then I need to find a way also to not just break through, to retain the relationship. But here's the truth. No one ever has a big enough candidate list. They don't. No person who gets a new real estate license today has enough candidates to call to become profitable tomorrow. The single biggest task for these types of businesses is learning to, the skill that I've described is learning to live our lives in such a way that our candidate list grows in front of us. Well, that's a skill that takes a long time to develop. Many people need to make money now. They don't have time to develop a skill. And so we need to have some things that are a process, so a skill develops in a process, but some that are an event that can cause productivity right now that does not require that process. And so now imagine for a moment that Patrick is my friend. He is my friend, and he knows that I'm a real estate agent, but he's not yet chosen to use me as his agent. And I've talked about this idea of wanting my potential candidate to walk towards me. And so now I have a couple of choices. I could send Patrick a Hallmark greeting card. And you know what? God bless Hallmark, but I've never read anything that they wrote and thought, wow, this perfectly captures my relationship with this person. Never. And I imagine now that I go and I find something that's roughly similar, I cross it out and I write what I want to write and I mail that to Patrick. I think there's exactly a 0% chance that Patrick would call me up and say, thanks for the greeting, Randy, but wow, that was cool. How did you buy a Hallmark card and how did you send it to me? I think that wouldn't happen. On the other hand, what if it was on your birthday and I sent you an email and it said, video birthday greeting enclosed? And now you click on it. There's a beautiful template that says, happy birthday. You click on it, and there is your friend Randy Schroeder. And I say, Patrick, you and I have been through a bit over the course of the last 2 years, and it's been interesting watching the comings and goings of people. And you know what, Patrick? I just heard through the grapevine that today was your birthday. And here's my impression, Patrick. On the day that Patrick was born, the angels sang and they danced and they blew on their horns on the day that Patrick was born. Happy birthday. Now, you see what just happened? Patrick just smiled. Even though he really didn't want to, he kind of smiled and he chuckled. A person with a smile on their face and a chuckle in their throat has their eyes, their ears, and their hearts open to receive what the next message is. You cannot do in a Hallmark card what you just saw happen. You cannot. And now, is it not somewhat likely, more than possible, is it not somewhat likely that Patrick calls me in the next day or two and says, hey, thanks for the birthday greetings, but by the way, that was cool. I'd like to do that with my employees. And just like that, you became the conduit to the next person utilizing the service, and you earn royalties as a result. This was an example of a candidate coming towards you. What was that? How did you do it? A small percentage of people can approach a candidate successfully and provoke the correct conversation. A huge percentage of people can respond appropriately to a candidate who's coming towards them and asking for help. That is not a subtle difference. That is the difference in success and failure for 85 or 90% of people.
Well, that is 100% in line with what I was talking about pursuing people rather than having them pursue you, having them come to you. Trust me, if you've been in sales for as long as I have, and you have, I mean, I've been in sales 40 years now.
Right.
It is a lot more fun having customers call you and ask for your help than chasing them down and trying to get them to pay attention, right? So we are coming up against the end of the show, Randy, and with all your years of experience, we've got about 60 seconds for you to share. What is the one lesson you've learned that has made the biggest difference? And then share maybe how they can get a hold of you.
The one lesson I have learned is that the most challenging things you've experienced had a positive possible outcome. That's one important thing. Maybe the single most important thing that I've learned is that each of us have talent sufficient to succeed. Notice I didn't say skill. The good news is we all have talent sufficient to succeed. A kind and loving God, for whatever reason, chose to grace us with the talents required to succeed. That's the good news. The bad news is that talent makes no money, zero. It's that handful of people who are willing to work and work and work and work and work and work and work to refine those talents which God gave into skills which become beneficial to other people. These are they for whom the rewards are reserved. Refine your talents into skills that become beneficial for others. Let your success be as a side effect of other people's success. Subordinate your results, the results of other people. You won't just make money, you'll make friends. You'll be more happy more of the time. Response to your question, how do you get a hold of me? I'm not a hard guy to track down. I'm kind of visible out there. Randy Schroeder, find me on Facebook, or I'm even going to give you my telephone number. That's bizarre. Don't call me because I won't answer, but send me a text and tell me you'd like to receive any kind of information. I'll send it to you. That number is 813-990-7651.
We will put a link to Talk Fusion in the description for today's show. If you'd like to learn more, reach out. We'd be happy to answer any questions. Randy, always a pleasure. Great to see you. Thanks for being on the show today. I'm excited about your new show. I mean, as I said, Randy has been approached by Bold Brave TV about being a headliner host. He's got a lot more lessons and a lot more insights to share. And I'm excited to see that unfold in the weeks and months to come, my friend. So congratulations. That's a big deal.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thanks for having me here today. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. Thanks for being with us here on Finding Certainty, and we'll talk to you later.
Very good. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the Certainty Experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.